On a warm September evening in 2012, the University of Florida campus in Gainesville continued its usual rhythm of academic life. Among the students was Christian Aguilar, an 18-year-old freshman studying biomedical engineering. Christian was known by those close to him as a quiet and somewhat shy young man who had received a scholarship to pursue his studies. His brother would later describe how, though initially reserved, Christian would reveal his charming and funny personality once he felt comfortable enough to open up to people. During his time at university, Christian had begun dating Erica Freeman, a longtime friend from his school days. The relationship had brought noticeable happiness to Christian's life, with his father Carlos later commenting that he had never seen his son so content. Erica herself felt a deep connection with Christian, describing them as soulmates and believing they would eventually marry. September 20th, 2012 began like any ordinary day. After finishing her classes, Erica sent Christian a text message to arrange their usual meetup. By this point in their relationship, they had fallen into a comfortable pattern of spending time together daily, with both typically responding quickly to messages. When Christian didn't reply to Erica's text, she initially assumed he was simply busy with other matters and returned to her apartment alone. As several hours passed, without any response to her continued calls and messages, Erica's concern gradually deepened. Something felt wrong about this silence, as it was quite unlike Christian to be unreachable for so long. Following her intuition, Erica walked to Christian's dormitory to ask his roommate if he had seen him. Unfortunately, the roommate had no information about Christian's whereabouts. Just after 4 a.m., with still no word from Christian, Erica contacted Pedro Bravo, Christian's childhood friend. She knew the two had gone shopping together the previous day and hoped Pedro might have some information. Pedro informed her that he and Christian had parted ways in the afternoon, and he hadn't heard from Christian since that time. Growing increasingly worried, Erica made the decision to call Christian's father, Carlos, who lived 300 miles away in Miami. She hoped that perhaps Christian had been in touch with his family, but Carlos confirmed he hadn't heard from his son either. Recognizing how uncharacteristic this silence was, Carlos and Christian's mother, Claudia, immediately began the long drive to Gainesville to help search for their son. The following morning, on September 21st, Carlos Aguilar contacted the police to report his son missing. In his conversation with the authorities, he explained the unusual nature of Christian's absence, particularly his lack of response to his girlfriend, something that was entirely out of character. "My name is Carlos Aguilar. I'm the parent of Christian Aguilar, a student over at the university. His girlfriend has been trying to contact him since yesterday, and he normally responds to his girlfriend right away. If he's so concerned about it, we are concerned right now. This is not his normal behavior, and I'm wondering if you guys can help us." That same morning, just before 10 a.m., Erica and Pedro met with Officer Timothy Peck of the University of Florida's Police Department to formally report Christian as missing. During this meeting, the interconnected history of the three young people gradually came to light. Christian, Erica, and Pedro had all known each other since their days at Doral Academy. Before Erica began dating Christian, she had been in a relationship with Pedro, which she had ended shortly before starting college. Though Pedro had initially been upset about the breakup, it appeared that the three former schoolmates had reconnected when Pedro also moved to Gainesville. What Officer Peck did not initially know was that Christian and Erica had not yet informed Pedro about their relationship as they were waiting for him to be in a better emotional state before sharing this news. During the meeting with police, Erica mentioned that Christian had previously suffered from depression. This information added urgency to the search as authorities now considered whether Christian might have harmed himself. Officers promptly visited Christian's apartment, but found nothing unusual. Everything was in its place with no signs of disturbance or struggle. The police interviewed Pedro and Erica separately about the last known whereabouts of Christian. Pedro explained that on the previous day, he and Christian had left campus together in Pedro's car. Christian had received a flu shot, and afterward, they had driven to a Best Buy store to purchase a CD and have lunch. Like, do you want to go get chicken? We went to Best Buy. I remember we spent a few minutes fidgeting because my car, it takes music CDs and it eats them too. According to Pedro's initial account, he and Christian had engaged in a verbal disagreement while in the car. Following this argument, Pedro said he had dropped Christian off on a street and driven home alone. Feeling guilty about the conflict, Pedro claimed he had attempted to call Christian later, but couldn't reach him. I wasn't answering his phone. We didn't know where he was. I got up and tried to go back to sleep, but I couldn't because I felt kind of guilty because I dropped him on the road, and I was afraid. Like, what if something happens? And what if he's lost right now? What if he's trying to get back to his dorm and went the wrong way because he doesn't have any good sense of direction? Carlos Aguilar also contacted Pedro directly to hear his account of what had happened. Pedro expressed remorse about the situation and explained that he had been going through a difficult time emotionally. She called his parents to let them know what's going on, so they know what's happening. And then his father calls me, and he tells me, like, what happened? What were you last with him? And what happened? All like that. And I'm like, I was with him in a car, and I'm so sorry. It's because, like I said, I understand he was just trying to help me because I'm going through a rough time and I don't know what I'm doing myself. One complicating factor was that Pedro, having only recently enrolled at college in Gainesville, didn't know the area well and couldn't recall the name of the street where he claimed to have left Christian. He attempted to describe the location as best he could, but the area he seemed to be describing was known for criminal activity and drug use, which increased the police's concern for Christian's safety. The investigation proceeded with police checking surveillance footage from the Best Buy store. The cameras had indeed captured Christian and Pedro together around 3 p.m. on September 20th, showing them drinking coffee, browsing the aisles, and conversing just as Pedro had described. However, after this point, there was no further visual evidence of Christian. Law enforcement expanded their search reviewing footage from hundreds of cameras throughout the neighborhood where Pedro claimed to have left Christian. Days of footage from local businesses and homes were meticulously examined, but Christian did not appear in any of these recordings. Meanwhile, Christian's family volunteers and multiple Florida police departments joined in the physical search for the missing freshman. While reviewing surveillance footage, investigators did find something unexpected. Though it wasn't Christian, they discovered on camera they observed Pedro at a local car wash, power washing his vehicle at 2 a.m. This contradicted Pedro's statement that after leaving Christian, he had driven straight home. The inconsistency prompted police to question Pedro further about his activities that night. When confronted, Pedro modified his earlier account. He revealed that contrary to Christian and Erica's belief that they had kept their relationship secret, he had recently discovered they were dating. This discovery, he said, had led to a physical altercation between himself and Christian. Pedro stated that after learning that his ex-girlfriend and good friend were in a relationship, he had become upset and hit Christian in the face, causing his nose to bleed in the car. Pedro claimed that after they fought for some time, he had forced Christian out of the vehicle, leaving him almost unconscious by the roadside, and driven away. Following this revised statement on September 24th, police arrested Pedro on charges of depriving a crime victim of medical care. This charge allowed officers additional time to investigate Pedro's claims, which continued to raise questions. During an interview with law enforcement, Pedro was encouraged to provide a complete account of what had happened. "I hit him in the face, and I made him get out." "But there's more to that," the officer said. "I think that you need to be honest about it. You need to tell me what else happened, because something else happened besides just that. We know that he's not coming back." "Okay, I know he's not coming back. I've been doing this for too long. You know. You know he's not coming back." When asked if he could go home that night, Pedro was told honestly that would not be possible as the investigation continued. Meanwhile, surveillance cameras had still not captured any sign of Christian after his separation from Pedro. The blood in Pedro's car and the footage of him washing his vehicle in the early morning hours led investigators to believe Pedro knew more than he had revealed. Officers obtained a warrant to search Pedro's apartment, where they made several disturbing discoveries. Among the items found was a receipt dated just days before Christian's disappearance. When investigators checked the surveillance footage from that date and time, they observed Pedro purchasing a shovel duct tape and sleeping pills. Perhaps most significantly, Christian's backpack was also discovered in Pedro's apartment. Though Christian's body had not yet been found, the evidence strongly suggested he was no longer alive, and the case was officially classified as a murder investigation. Based on the accumulated evidence, Pedro Bravo was arrested and charged with Christian's murder. After 3 weeks of intensive searching in an area approximately 60 miles from Gainesville, local hunters discovered human remains buried in a shallow grave. Dental records confirmed the body belonged to Christian Aguilar. The subsequent autopsy revealed Christian had been strangled with his ankles and wrists bound with duct tape. As investigators pieced together the events leading to Christian's death, they discovered that Pedro had developed an obsession with Erica Freeman years earlier. This fixation had begun when they were sophomores in high school and had continued after their relationship ended. When Pedro learned that Erica had moved on and was dating Christian, he formulated a plan to remove Christian from his life permanently. The relationship between Erica and Pedro had begun during their sophomore year of high school. Though initially the relationship seemed positive, Erica eventually became unhappy and attempted to end it. However, when she tried to break up with Pedro, he warned her that their lives would never be the same if she left him. Out of concern, Erica had agreed to stay in the relationship. As they prepared to attend different colleges, Erica saw an opportunity to conclude the relationship amicably and move forward separately. She enrolled at Santa Fe Community College in Gainesville, where she reconnected with Christian, and they began dating. Pedro, who had initially planned to attend Florida International University hundreds of miles away, unexpectedly transferred to Santa Fe Community College in what appeared to be an attempt to rekindle his relationship with Erica. By this time, Erica and Christian were dating and content in their relationship. When Pedro directly asked Erica if she and Christian were together, she denied it, saying they were just friends. Both Erica and Christian were mindful of Pedro's emotional state, as he had frequently mentioned suicidal thoughts following the breakup. They had decided to keep their relationship private until they felt Pedro was emotionally prepared to accept it. Unfortunately, Pedro had already discovered their relationship and was consumed with anger about it. Another significant item recovered from Pedro's apartment was a journal that revealed the extent of his obsessive thoughts and feelings. The pages contained drawings, poems, quotes lyrics, and love letters to Erica. It also included numerous entries about Christian and repetitive affirmations, such as, "I can do this," "I believe in myself," "I will do it," "I can win her back," "I will win her back," "No one will stop me," "I will get into Gainesville and get her back." One entry from July read, "I'm scared she might end up with Chris." Underneath, he had written, "You are overreacting again. Remember that Chris goes to University of Florida and Erica goes to Santa Fe. So limited conversation and contact. Plus they don't talk much. And he lives on campus. They got separate classes and schools. Plus you have time." This internal dialogue revealed Pedro's growing fixation on the couple. On September 20th, Pedro had contacted Christian, suggesting they meet and go shopping together. Pedro told Christian he wanted to discuss his depression and suicidal thoughts and seek advice. Christian was initially hesitant about the meeting, concerned that Pedro might want to talk about his relationship with Erica. Eventually, Christian agreed to meet, believing they would be safe in public places. While sitting in Pedro's car in a Walmart parking lot, Pedro drugged Christian by adding sleeping pills to a bottle of Gatorade, then strangled him with a belt. Cell phone records showed that Pedro remained in the parking lot for 2 hours that afternoon. He then put his phone in airplane mode for 5 hours and drove to a swampy area where he attempted to bury Christian's body. Phone logs revealed that Pedro's iPhone flashlight had been used 9 times for a total of 48 minutes that night. Afterward, Pedro stopped for food at McDonald's and then went to wash his car. Despite his efforts, forensic experts found soil in the undercarriage of the vehicle that matched the soil surrounding Christian's remains. The shovel Pedro had purchased also matched the soil found at the burial site. In August 2014, almost 2 years after Christian's body was discovered, Pedro Bravo's trial began. He entered a plea of not guilty. During the trial, Pedro's former cellmate Michael testified that Pedro had confessed to killing Christian, stating it had taken 13 minutes to complete the act. Michael also revealed that Pedro had initially considered several methods for the murder. "I think originally he said that he was going to try to poison him with a mixture of sleeping pills and pesticide and mixed with soda, or something like, I guess, soda. And his backup plan was to have a knife, to cut his throat, after he had got back in the driver's seat." Michael also led officers to where Pedro had hidden the shovel under a wooden walkway at his apartment complex. According to Michael's testimony, Pedro had almost been caught in the act by a security guard driving past his vehicle while he was strangling Christian. Erica Freeman testified about her relationship with Pedro and why she had not told him about dating Christian. I lied to him saying that we were not dating. Didn't think he was ready to hear that at that time, a very sensitive point in his life, I suppose. I didn't want to, throw him over the edge or anything, and tell him, by the way, I'm dating a mutual friend of ours. I didn't think it was the appropriate time, especially how he was acting and what he was claiming that he was going to do. Pedro took the stand in his own defense, the only witness called by the defense during the 2-week trial. He admitted to hitting Christian while driving, but maintained that he had not killed him. The discussion is getting very heated. Now, I'm arguing with him, and he's arguing with me. I turn around and I hit him in the nose with my left fist while I'm driving. His nose started bleeding. At this point, I pull over to the left and I pull into a small driveway with a building or some skinny trees. I went to sleep. Pedro claimed he was awakened by a call from Erica around 4 a.m, asking if he had heard from Christian. He said he thought nothing of it at the time, assuming Christian had decided not to return to his dormitory or had gotten lost. The defense argued that while Pedro had physically fought with Christian and wrongly abandoned him by the roadside, he had not committed murder. Pedro claimed the duct tape was being used to seal a crack in his car window, and the shovel had been purchased with the intention of taking his own life and digging his own grave. He stated that after his altercation with Christian, he had attempted suicide by consuming a mixture of painkillers and pesticide, but had vomited shortly afterward, interpreting this as a sign that he should not end his life. However, the evidence against Pedro was substantial. DNA and forensic evidence surveillance footage, his journal entries, and a pattern of obsessive behavior presented a compelling case for the prosecution. After just 3 hours of deliberation, the jury returned with their verdict. We, the jury, finds as follows: the defendant, Pedro Andres Bravo, in this case, as to count 1, the defendant is guilty of first-degree murder. Pedro Bravo was convicted of first-degree murder poisoning, false imprisonment, tampering with evidence giving false information to authorities, and improper transportation of human remains. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. While in prison, Pedro wrote a suicide note that was discovered by a guard. The note included the statement, "I'm a monster for hurting Chris." Despite this, and the confession he had made to his former cellmate, Pedro continued to deny killing Christian at his sentencing hearing. "I did not kill Christian Aguilar. I know that I will face my sentence. I will do my time, but I know in my heart that I did not do anything to hurt my friend." Throughout the trial, Pedro had repeatedly attempted to contact the Aguilar family and Erica. At the sentencing, Carlos Aguilar requested that the judge prevent Pedro from contacting his family or Erica in the future. The Aguilar family expressed relief and satisfaction with the verdict. Carlos Aguilar observed, "The reality is the verdict will not bring my son back, but Pedro was held accountable. I promised Christian at his burial there would be justice." Christian Aguilar's funeral was held in Miami and was open to the public, with many attendees who had known and cared for him. Erica Freeman remembered Christian as such a good person, so kind, and so compassionate. "I always feel like when I describe him, I'm never describing him enough. You had to meet him." A young man with a promising future, whose life had ended much too soon, was laid to rest, surrounded by those who would remember his kindness and the gentle spirit he had shared with the world.